we've got big plans with AI casting. So, we're aiming to not be casting through submissions and, that old system. We're trying to get things tagged up and systems suggesting people, if you're looking for it doesn't have to be a certain height, a certain eye color, a certain nationality, a certain race, a certain accent. That is the preconceived ideas of the casting director that's then reading that off the page, or the writer that's written that. If you need a cop, you can be anyone. You can be any race, you can be any size, you can be any disability, you can be any, sexual orientation, you can be any eye color. It doesn't matter. So those filters are out of date. All those other systems, they're wrong. They don't work. Really be working to. We've got this idea that we can streamline that system. And casting directors already use our system for the audition room. So we really, really want to be suggesting people from the community that are pro members and that are other members as well into those people, so they can read for those massive roles too, because massive shows cast through We Audition.
Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Tabatabai Show. I'm joined by Richard Cambridge, who's an actor and also co-founder and CTO of We Audition, which is an online video chat community for actors who want to connect, rehearse, and ultimately self-tape their auditions. And I think it's fair to say that it's been a booming platform in the last 2 or 3 weeks as part of really being a cornerstone of the Casting Crushes Corona initiative that's kind of taken social media by storm and is really looking to connect industry and casting professionals with actors in this pretty uncertain time, not just for the industry, but for all of us. So, Richard, thank you for joining me, man. Thank you for taking the time, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me. We've had a really busy week, so this has come at a really good time, really. I'm as you said, I'm a co-founder of We Audition. We've been running this nearly 5 years, and we've been talking about doing general meetings and video chats and communicating and helping people do their self-tapes and creating that community. And this last period of our time in the world, it's been a very strange one, and it's kind of a really useful tool in these times when we can't go out and there's social distancing. It's actually really come of age in many respects, that people are using it and shouting about these things. Oh, new ways to do this, new ways to do that. But we've been laying that foundation, and lucky us, we've been laying that foundation for a good few years.
But now you're the overnight success story, right? Like you've appeared out of nowhere, but not really.
Yeah, this has been it's been a long journey actually, and I run We Audition with Darren, my co-founder. There's just two of us on it now. We originally started with 3 of us. Jess, hi Jess, if you ever listen to this, it's is in Australia now with a little baby, and Darren just kind of kept slogging, and then it started a couple of years ago to take off, really.
Because obviously, I mean, let's get a little bit into the backstory just for a moment of you, because you are an actor first and foremost, right? And then this has kind of come alongside that, or is it kind of changed over time where this is now the main thing? Like, what is? Yeah,
we can't get out doing any acting this week unless we're doing it in front of.
Well, sure.
Not collaborative stuff with other people without social distancing. So actually, this week's kind of come full circle in many ways, because I met Darren Darnborough, the co-founder, through Sophie Holland. So Sophie Holland,
wow.
And this is a coincidence in many ways, but it was a long time ago, and Sophie was an actress. Myself and her were in a film together called Forest of the Damned by Joe Roberts. He just did 47 Meters Down. It was in the theaters, did really well in the US, did all around the world actually. So he's a horror director. We were in a movie together with Joe. Joe was the director, and we got on really well. We became friends. Sophie moved into casting, which is great for her. She did that, and we never did any acting together. When she was an actress, she also did a movie with Darren, and he moved to LA. He was in LA. Their film together was in a film festival, the Bel Air Film Festival, and this was a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago. I don't know, a long time ago. And Sophie said, I used to have an agent in LA. I was with AMG back in the day, big Michael Ovitz, big agency. That was another life. I'm in the UK. So she sort of phoned me up and said, Rich, I've got this thing in LA. I want to go and I want to go to this festival, but I'm a bit scared to go on my own. Can you come with me? And I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah, why not? I'll go and see some friends in LA. I haven't been for a few years. I don't have an agent or anything over there, but yeah, why not? I'll go and, keep those connections. Networking connections is really important in our industries, So I thought that, great, do that. So I had a girlfriend at the time, and I said to her, well, I thought this is inappropriate. Me going with a new girlfriend, inappropriate. So I thought, well, we should all go together.
Right.
So I got a girlfriend, and now that girlfriend is now my wife, and we have a little girl.
Nice.
All really good friends. So Sophie and her husband now, Jim, came to our wedding. We went to their, it's like wonderful thing. So now Sophie is a casting director. I met Darren on that film festival from the film that she was. We became friends. So I was doing another project actually, which is a video chat project. A video download project before, and that came to an end around the time when Darren was looking at this project with someone else and said, "Do you want to come on board and develop this into a project, into an MVP, we call it,
minimum viable product." Yeah. So what's the angle there then with the tech side and you being CTO? Where does that experience and that sort of insight come from in your life?
If any of your listeners are actors and they have side hustles, sometimes we call it, don't we? It's what Gary Vee, I think.
Yeah.
We all have other jobs. We know that. Your other job, right? I don't know. We all have other jobs. Mine was always back in the day, making websites. I started off doing acting, auditioning, and then when I was, in my late teens, early 20s, really started making websites. This was really early. This is in the 90s. So they were really basic and they were really...
Alta Vista days back in the sort of dial-up era kind of thing.
But I'm making websites for small businesses and people, generally not actors. Actors didn't have websites. It was small businesses. So I've never had a job. I've never had a proper job. I've always done that and built up that as a business, which has been great. And I've got lots of customers, well, not really anymore, but I, built up a base of customers that managed to fund me being an actor. So I was always able to shoot my own projects or be on other people's projects or take a project I didn't need to do for the money. I didn't need to necessarily do certain things. So I've always done that. And so, this really brought those two worlds together. I really didn't tell people that I did acting if I did web, and I didn't tell people I did web if I did acting. I've never told.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've always felt the same, like living a double life for 10, 15 years because I work in online marketing. And then up until the last few years, that's a different world. And then acting and filmmaking is completely separate from that world until you get to a point where you go, well, maybe they kind of confused together. I don't know. Maybe it's also perception as well over time.
I remember going to a business course when I was about 20, and it was about setting up your own business and doing it for my web stuff. And he said, for a bit, you'll have one business card in this pocket. And I always remember him doing it. One business card in this pocket. And he said, you will do this. And at one point, you will amalgamate those and you will be one. But when that happens, it will be organic, but it will happen. And I was like, whatever, that doesn't apply to me because of acting. And actually what's happened with We Audition, Darren came to me through an acting contact, we became friends. He knew about my tech stuff. He's in tech himself. He had a tech product before called Stuck for Staff, which was a recruitment agency online, one of the biggest. But he knew about that tech. He's got the same sort of mindset and the sort of the entrepreneur mind that you need to develop a product. And so we became friends. And when the time was right, he said, "Do you want to come on board with this?" And initially I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll help you initially with a initial product." But it actually grew, and it brought those two worlds together. When he pitched it with Jess, the idea was like, "Yeah, I get it. You need a reader. You're doing self-tapes. You need a reader.
Mm-hmm.
Your mate's not available. Your mum's not available. You've asked your neighbour too many times. Your other actor friend down the street is getting annoyed with you because you're getting more auditions than him.
Yeah.
You can't
You've got less than 24 hours or less if it's pilot season and you're in LA and you've got to churn out 4 in a day if you're in that stage of your career, or just you don't live in a market where you know actors necessarily that can come and help you out right away. So it's, I think, it was a huge gap in the market. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I understood that. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I can see there's a market there. I didn't know how big a market. We ran through the numbers and we thought, what the market was and if people would come on board, and we needed to persuade people really on two sides. We needed to persuade people to come on board to help read with others, and then we needed to persuade people that it was okay to rehearse with someone on video chat. And that was a thing that, I think was the biggest stumbling block. People coming on board as readers. We had a few of those originally, and we could always do it ourselves for a little bit before we were so busy. So it actually was okay. But persuading people that actually reading with a person on video chat was as good as reading with someone in the room.
What do you think that perception was then for people? Because my gut as an actor going back a few years might have been, what would casting think or the producers think? Do you think that was maybe the big hang up, or did you find other insights that was it?
I think it was lag. So previously Skype was massive, and that always connects through something that there's the technology about 5 years ago switched to it being in browser. So I won't get too technical. We use WebRTC, which is a kind of video chat interface in the browser itself. So we don't have like Zoom or download. We don't have all of this extra peripheral stuff that you have to do, convoluted. You just go to a page on a website and it works. So that was, to me, an opportunity. Now, it was only one browser, I think, an early version of Chrome a modern version of Chrome that did it, which is why we always say use Chrome now, because we're pushing always to the latest version. But it does work on Firefox, it works on Safari, it works on, it does work on other browsers. But originally, it was only the new browsers that had this new technology. And I was like, oh my God, this is great, because they connect together and the technology doesn't need any plugins. Actors generally doesn't mix so well, not always, but sometimes. So it was an opportunity moment, really. And then that meant the lag wasn't there. So you could get that moment. And actually Zoom does it really well. It's been very popular recently. And actually Skype uses all that new technology now. So video chat's really come of age in the last 4 or 5 years. The ability to look at someone in the face, and bandwidth, of course, has always been an issue.
Yeah. But you're connecting people though as a community, so that it's a case of going in and saying, I need a reader that can maybe meet X requirements as well. It's not just finding anybody. I think there's filtering systems on there. It's obviously probably evolved over time, but you go in and you can find someone pretty much at the drop of a dime. And I think that's amazing when you're panicking, looking for a reader, and your agent's saying you have a window for this self-tape, and that's the last thing you want to be worrying about. So for actors,
we talk about being tooled up, don't we? We talk about having, an arsenal and arrows. I always talk about, you've got an arrow for this, an arrow for that. It's something you don't need to worry about. We say when you're setting up for a self-tape as well, just be ready. Be ready. Have your self-tape studio. If you've got space, okay, everyone does that. If you have space, set up so you've got somewhere that you can just self-tape. You don't have to think about that technology. You just think about the character, think about the lines, think about the stuff you need to do. Don't think about unpacking, it's in my, loft or in my garden, whatever. You don't want to set up. You want to get on it. So having a reader, going down the street, having to chat for 10 minutes before you actually get around to doing the sides, to be nice to your friend. I mean, that's nice. It's part of being an actor, and that's a wonderful thing, but
you want to be focused, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, this is your chance to act. Not everybody obviously gets an audition all the time. You might get one self-tape every couple of months. People are at different stages, and you want to be as wired in and as focused as you can be in that moment.
Yeah, there are. We've got a number of different ways to it. It's evolved. It's been really good. We've got readers on demand. So if people are sitting there with their beacon on, that means their computer is open. It's on. They've pressed a button to say they are waiting. If they close that tab down, that beacon goes off. They are waiting, for their phone to ring. So we have between 4 and 20 of those online, around the clock, online, throughout the world, all the time. There's almost never a time when there's not someone waiting online. So you can just press go on them and you phone them. Basically, their screen rings and they say, "Yeah, I'll do it." That's number one. So that's evolved, and that's great because that means there's a reader on demand. Someone there, there is someone there. And then there's also, when there's lots of people online, we have profiles. You can look through someone who might be suitable. We have a big community of people that come back to the same person, so they can through text or messenger or whatever. Now, We Audition does not take a commission, so we don't care how you communicate. A lot of these sort of concepts of business is about kind of keeping things in the walled garden or keeping things. So we didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's called YouTube and Facebook and all the big boys, man. That is the sort of way that they're all operating, isn't it? We reward you from staying within the platform. You can go outside, but it's to your detriment.
Yeah, people connecting through us, and obviously we want people to support us, but we want people to want to do that. We're giving a lot, we really are, and all the servers and stuff, and we pay for all of that, and all the memberships, they pay for all of the infrastructure and everything. That's where the money goes. It all goes into that. But people, if they read with someone else, they keep all that money. So if they want to get paid through PayPal, through our system, great, they get all that money, it comes through our system, it marks it off as check paid. If they want to get a bank transfer, we don't care. If you want to say, right, I'll shout you a coffee next time, or you want to charge no money, it doesn't matter. We don't care. If you want to charge $100 as a coach, as a pro coach that does it every day and charges $100 an hour, that's fine. We just take no commission, so we don't care. But what it means is that there's a selection of people online, and some people connect with, they shout out to their friend, yeah, jump online and I'll message you then if they want,
Sure.
And then also the other thing is you can request someone specific. So say you want a Texan accent. This was always our thing. We said, we want a female Texan accent. Oh my God, how do I get that? Because I want to read against someone else who has that same twang.
Yeah.
You could put a shout out, and that sends a message to everyone in the database who says that they want to get that shout out. That's tens of thousands. Like tens of thousands.
And I assume that's the same for like languages too, right? So say if I want to go for a Spanish role that actually involves someone who doesn't just have the accent but speaks Spanish, I'm assuming you have all that in there, like all that's covered.
Speakers, we have Russian speakers, we have I can't even think, like all the way, all across Europe. We have a big German community. We did a mixer over in Germany and Berlindale. With Darren went over there and did that. And so we had a Shanghai mixer, one in Australia. There's lots of different places. We've been to where there's membership. We can't do it at the moment. And then in the last year, Darren and myself, to some of them, we went all the way. We had memberships. So everywhere that there was a user base, we went and had a mixer and met people, met all our users. So
awesome.
And that means that sort of 24/7, if you need someone, there's almost always someone online, and you can always put that shout out for someone specific as well. And also advice is a big thing. We thought it would be used more for advice.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a big community. People don't mind giving advice, and we want people to ask. You can put a shout out to say, how do I get an agent in LA? How do I get an agent in Atlanta? And actually, Darren put that out himself as a question. I want to meet some guys from Atlanta. And he met 4 or 5 people from Atlanta, talked to them, got some ins to some agencies, went over to Atlanta, got an agency, and he's booked out of that agency.
Amazing. I mean, really, what's coming through to me is the self-taping and the auditioning and video chat is obviously the sort of core of what you do and how it's branded and marketed, and it is a big product feature, but it sounds a lot more to me like it's a community, right? And that's the inherent underlying thing where you're bringing people together. I don't want to use the word social network because that has different connotations in people's minds, but it does very much sound like it is that space for actors and industry people to just connect. And then from there, it could be self-taping, or it could be, as you're saying, getting the advice just about general questions. Is that like something that was always the intention, or is that evolved organically?
When you get readers involved, and then you want people to read, you kind of need both people from the marketplace. You need people from both sides, but also they're the same people. It's not like a different model where you have a salesperson and then a purchaser. It's not a customer buyer sales shopkeeper relationship, because the same people are being readers and the same people are wanting readers. They're the same people. And also, if you're doing an audition, to have someone feedback who is an actor is better than your neighbor doing it, or your mum doing it, or your wife doing it. You don't want to wreck those relationships with, one more time. You don't want to be thinking about that. We hear all the time with our feedback, because we get public notes and then private notes as well. And we hear, there's a few people particularly that do it. This took me to another level. And I know from say I got a self-tape in for the morning, I tend to do things, I get it in during the day, I might learn the lines, and then I'll sit on at night, and I'll go on. Hollywood will be awake, and I will go on with some people that I know and I like, and I will run those lines, and it will take it up a level, and then I will go to sleep, and I won't tape it, and then in the morning I'll probably get up and I'll tape it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting insight, isn't it? Because you're workshopping it, whereas normally if you were doing it by yourself, you're just going to read with the person who's going to record the lines with you when you're ready to record. You're not going to have the time to just go and spend an hour just finding whatever you can find in the script and just vocalize it out loud. So I think that, yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but that is really powerful. It's almost rehearsal and then tape when you're ready, time permitting, obviously.
Yeah, time permitting. It's different from actors when they're in, pilot season in 4 days. But for me in the UK and for people all across Europe, the time zones work really well, actually, because we can be doing stuff in the day, learning lines or getting the job in or whatever. And then when America wakes up, that you can get access to Hollywood coaches and people at the top of their game who are really on this, giving you little insights. And that little insight, I believe in the slight edge, little bits, little bits. And it really makes a difference. So I think for people in Europe, it's really beneficial because of that time zone. And then the other way around, people in Europe can be reading early for people in Australia, and people in Australia can also be reading super early for people in LA. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in. The computer doesn't care.
Hey, so question for you, Richard. Is this, at the moment, does the video capacity only allow for 1-to-1, or could you have more people in the chat? My mind's going to things like table reads, and if a filmmaker has a script or a screenwriter's written something and they want to just hear it out loud, does that exist yet, or could it exist?
Yeah, you can do that. I think you can do it in the room. You can certainly do it in the auditions. We do know something this week, though. So Sophie Holland, for one of her things, had just checking in the waiting room, 620 people or something check in for the meeting when she's going to see like 10 people.
Yeah.
So that broke. So we know that it can be 600. I realistically, like 50 people is a lot. Well, we've just been working it now, and we've actually limited now the waiting rooms because people were this week has been massive, and because people have been turning up and wanting to be part of this, rightly so, because it's a massive people on here. We have actually made some tech improvements to improve the experience for actors, so they're not waiting around all day thinking they might be seen. A lot of people have been thinking it was random because when the waiting list was getting into the hundreds, they were not seeing the waiting list; they were seeing something different, just who connected.
Yeah, I noticed early on that people were getting sort of frustrated or just confused, I guess, because they didn't quite know how it worked. And I guess you guys were sort of, almost playing catch up a little bit because no one was expecting this. So kudos to you guys for sort of, I guess, being able to adapt so quickly and still provide this amazing service and also sort of speed up the tech so that people are more aware. And I think people get it now. They're sort of appreciative. Just there was that fear of missing out, that FOMO kicked in for a lot of people because, to your point,
this week that there has never been a thing where you lost your place in the waiting list. We get tens of emails every day saying, or text or whatever, social media message, I lost my place, or we read it, they're putting hashtag, I was there, I was second, I lost my place in the list. No one loses their place in the list. It's just that when we got over a couple of hundred people in the waiting list or something like that, you couldn't connect to the list. So you just saw the people connecting. So you were at the top because you couldn't connect to the list. So everyone came in underneath you and you thought you were at the top. And then we did a refresh. You saw the list. Oh my God, you're at a place 100. I lost my place in the list. Well, they were always there. Things to do that. And we have hundreds of auditions going through, and the system is built for 2 or 3 people in that list. And the idea is that we have 2 sides to it. We have the self-tape, but we also have producers and directors and casting directors using the system like Skype, like Zoom. But they have a queue system. So when the next appointment comes in, they see them come in. Everybody sees them come in. They can invite them in the room if they want to, have a three-way chat. Or they can say, thanks very much, go, and the next person comes in. That's what it's built for, like 2 or 3 people in the list.
It's replicating what the in-person experience kind of is as much as it possibly can, right? As opposed to cattle call 1,000 people cramming into the room. It's going to be chaotic no matter whether it's online or in person. But I think this is...
That's why we call it the waiting room. That's why we have it on screen.
Yeah.
Initial concept originally where it looked like a waiting room, with chairs around it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
But I mean, this is unprecedented, obviously. So let's get into a little bit of the whole Casting Crushes Corona initiative and obviously how it came to be and then how it's taken off so quickly. Like, did it take you by surprise that it's grown to the level that it has, or did you sort of expect that this might happen?
I'm not sure we expected this. Obviously, Sophie and The Witcher is the biggest thing on telly. Sophie is a massive casting director. We know that.
Yeah.
People use We Audition every day for auditions. So people use it to audition. Casting directors use it. We sponsored the Artios Awards this year, which is the Casting Director of America's, awards ceremony to celebrate their own thing. We were sponsor of that. People use it. Casting directors use it, but they're generally using it for their own rooms. So they create a room, they share the URL only with the agents that they want to see. We get top level. This is not, we get top level talent, massive shows. So people use that, and they've been using that for years, for a couple of years at least, regularly, all the time. We don't know. We can look through the logs and we can find out. We don't know who's doing what show. We don't. We run the system. It's a casting room. They choose who they bring in. They hire the room and do it. It's free for them as well. So Sophie could have done this without telling us. She could have just set it up as a room and just invited people in. I'm glad she did. She's friends. She said, "Oh, do you think this would support this? Do you want to do this? Whatever." And it was Sophie Holland and Faye Timby as well who came up with the idea. Faye's Sophie's associate, I think, on The Witcher. And if I'm right, I think so. And they came up with this kind of concept, right? Let's put it on social media and invite people in because people are at home and they wanted to give back. And that's a big deal. We have casting people do auditions on this every day. They are normal people running businesses. They are getting clients, studios or production companies, and they are doing their work, suggesting people, and then suggesting them back to the directors and executive producers. They are busy people, and they're trying to make a living as well. And I think doing We Audition, that's something that I've only just sort of, not only just, but it's something that is come about. I didn't appreciate that so much. We see them as actors, as we see them as gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And I think the numbers that they get on social media and the followers and things, it kind of shows that. And the emails that we get, that should really go to the casting directors. We get a lot of the incoming emails that go to people. We're like, oh, someone's doing another one. We don't know about it. So yeah, Sophie contacted us originally and said, should we do this? Let's do this. Do you want to put it out? And we're like, yeah, great. Let's do it. Let's do it officially. Let's do some co-branding on it. Let's push it out. We will support you. We will. Well, what's happened is we've built in features to support the bigger numbers, and we put that out to our membership as well. So that's how that's come about. But someone could have done it without even talking to us. And people are. Every day we see a hashtag of someone that is doing it, and we look down their logs. And, that's Rob Kelly's doing one, or whatever. So that's taken off on its own right. So yes, that has been a surprise, but it's no surprise that people want to jump on board because it's an opportunity for casting directors who are at home to still meet talent in a safe environment, also promote themselves on social media, and also give back to the community and meet people. And it's an opportunity for actors as well, massive opportunity, and that's been really, really. And the good feedback that we have had is massively outweighed the few negatives.
There's always going to be negatives with anything anyway, to be fair. And it's almost like that's part and parcel for the course. I'm sure you've had that throughout the five years of doing this anyway. It's just a different scale now. But
it's generally people who don't want to commute. Generally, it's people who don't want to contribute to the community. So they're not a paid member. You don't have to be a paid member. It's all free if you want it. But a lot of people do contribute to the community in a paid membership, which is $10 a month. It's not much, But for that, then you can earn money as well. If you're a paid member, you can be a reader on the system and earn that back. You can charge $10 for 15 minutes of read. Most people do. That's one 15-minute read where you get benefit from reading with someone else as well. And it's a no-brainer. But people who support that community, read with others, get much more out of it. But the people that complain generally are people who want it for free and they want a place on the things. And it's first come, first served. We don't there's no prejudice against people who are free or who are not free. However, it's nice that you support back.
Well, that's ultimately what this is about, right? Because, every industry, but especially the creative one, is really just about collaboration. As great as an actor could be, they can't do it alone. As great as a casting director might be, they need the actors, they need the producers, and it's just one big circus. So I think, anyone trying to do it by themselves isn't going to get that far. It is that sort of, what's that old adage of, what is it? Faster alone, further together, I think is the saying. And like we all
can say, I think, yeah.
So we all need like each other in this. And the thing is, this whole Corona thing will die down eventually. Who knows when? Because no one knows what the hell's going on. But some semblance of the industry will get back to normal. Sophie and other casting directors will get back to sort of being busy with projects. But the community that this is fostering can sort of still be there. And that's a huge support system that isn't just for now, it's for in perpetuity if we want it, and I think that's an amazing thing of what's happening under the hood here too.
I think so too. And I think the people that we really see using the system and regularly getting good stuff out of it, we call it future A-list. We say, future A-list, we don't, there's people on the site that we know are going to be stars. They're going to be massive, massive people. They're good people. They work hard. They contribute, and we know they get good results. And we have seen them over the last few years. There's a few people on our site. We're like, yeah. Darren says, I called it. And we see them on big shows, and we see them being super, super popular. It's a long haul, and when people are doing that and they're regularly working and they're regularly contributing, it seems to be those people that do really well in their career. And they tend to be the positive people, and they tend to be people who put in a lot. That's not always, but that tends to be what it is.
That's the best chance you've got at sort of making something, no matter what you're doing, though, right? Whether it's as an actor or whether it's setting up an online web platform as a business or being a carpenter, like you got to be in it and doing the grind. And, I think the great thing about the platform is obviously, yes, it looks amazing that you can connect with industry, but I'm assuming that, if you just wanted to go in and practice, you can go in and practice. Like if I want to self-tape every day just to learn and just get that process ingrained in me, the platform lets you do that.
If you're, top of your game, you should be doing that every day. That's a little thing. I did a podcast, an Instagram live actually, and there's a blog post I put on our blog. We're going to build out our blog a bit more actually, because that's been really popular. On daily routine and journaling. Now I do a journal every day, which has come out, it helps me focus. I'm going to do that one in a minute. But generally I go through it, and there's things on there that I tick the box. And one of them is, do exercise, read with someone, read out loud, accent work. Those things for actors you should do every day, just a little bit. There's no secret how to get fit. There's no secret. You just work out. That's it. If you do that every day, you will get fit.
And you're better doing 20 minutes a day of a workout than it is doing, one day every fortnight for like 2 hours where you blast it hard. Like that's.
Yeah. Just do 20 minutes every day. Yeah. 20 minutes every other day. You're going to get fitter. And it's the same thing. I think just little steps. And I really believe in that. That's what we're trying to do with We Audition as well. I want to talk about, you said about practicing as well. I can give everyone here a little preview of something that we are, we developed actually. We came up with the idea in New York when we were doing the tech day at Telsey & Co. in Times Square. And we were only one of a handful of people that went to present new technology to the Casting Association of America. And so literally it was, a few people, Casting Networks, ourselves, a couple of other people. So we've got this, we came up with this concept that everyone really gets benefit from reading as well as having a reader. And people have downtime, and the community has fostered a bunch of people that know each other. So we've got this concept of workouts, and it'll be a daily workout where you can go online. We've already got a massive library from LA Reels, from Brett. LA Reels is amazing. He did a shout out actually recently. I think he did a thing on where people can go in and ask him about their reels because he was at home. But, Brett came actually to our Sundance house as well. I'll talk about that in a sec. But the concept is you'll just go online and you'll be given some scripts. You'll be given 15 minutes. No payments. Not allowed to. You can't review each other. You can't tip each other. There is no. You're not allowed. But you're given a script. Get on it.
It's awesome. And you're doing the work for the actor already. You've got the script sourced. It's not like you have to find your own and there's an excuse to get out of it where, oh, I don't have time to go
Well,
on. And, it's just there. Rock up, do your thing.
yeah, and we can put that on, I need to read out loud with someone. I know from reading with other people, when I haven't done it for a while now because we've been busy with this, and I know that I get rusty. I do. But when you do it every day, you get quicker, you learn lines quicker, you're faster.
It's true. I've done a bunch of, Manuel Puro, right? So he does his acting habit 21-day challenge, and then he's now got casting directors where you can come in and you do 5 days back to back of, they give you a piece, you do it, you then put it on, and they give you feedback, and that's amazing. And just getting 5-day blocks of continuously doing it and getting the feedback, and in that community is amazing, because you do feel the difference that when you come to an actual audition, you're sharper because you've been doing it more frequently. So by virtue of then, if you did it every day through a platform like yours, you're just going to be sharpening the knife, on a continual basis. And
I don't think it's a secret how to get better. It's doing it more. Filmmaking is the same. If you're writing, it's the same. You do get better. We're human. That is the point. That is the skill. That is the ability of the human being, really, to adapt and get things. If you're a cat, you can't really work out and get bigger. It doesn't work. They don't have that the physicality, but we do. We do as human beings have that adaptability.
Yeah, I agree. Adaptation machines. Although I think, well, I suppose not. I was going to say with writing, there's that sort of deeper block to sort of just force yourself to sit down and do it. Like once.
If you're writing your own stuff, and I would encourage everyone now to write their own stuff. I think this is a really good time to do that, and it's hard. It's hard. I've written 2 things ever with friends, both of them, and they're rubbish.
Yeah, but it's always going to be like, that's the thing. The first time you do something, like your excuse to not do it is to go, well, I'm not a writer, so why should I write? But it's like, well, you're never going to be a writer if you don't write. And the first few, they're not supposed to be good or perfect. The idea of trying to do it perfectly isn't a valid idea anyway, because it's not attainable. So just start and do it. And yeah, I think now, as you say, is the best time, because we're being forced almost to go inwards a little bit. And through that, I think we all have stories to tell. What better chance to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, I guess, and put something out there, because I'm a big advocate.
Yeah, I don't think you should try and be perfect as well. It's something that I've seen a lot lately, and you hear it in a lot of podcasts and people talking about the ways to get things done. And I think being or trying to be perfect isn't going to help you. If you're writing, and I was a big, this big problem, you try and get the perfect sentence, and then you haven't written a page. Whereas if you flow out and let stuff and just let mistakes happen, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, and then you can always go back and make that better. But there might be whole scenes that go because of structure, and if we're looking at the film world, the structure of a film or a telly series or structure is very important. So the minute detail of one line is not important.
No, you want the story arc. Well, it could be. It depends where it fits in the arc, right? But like you say, if you change one thing in the third act, that may totally change what the meaning of the opening act is. And it's a juggling game completely.
You need to sculpt the thing. So you need to get a rough shape first. And, if you're doing the statue of David, you're not going to make his left toe amazing before you start getting up to his torso. You're going to roughly get into the right shape first, and then you're going to chip down, and then you're going to start polishing that torso.
I'm just going to disclaim now that I'm swiping that analogy, and I'll give you credit every time, but I like it, so I'm going to use that, because it is bang on. It's a really good way of framing it. I agree, though. I think all actors should be writing. I think we should be making our own content, because why wait for someone to give you permission to tell your stories? And I think that's why we all get into it in some innate level anyway, because we want to say something. And now's a better time than any. I mean, the internet is the game changer. We can put our stuff out there and build an audience and get our stuff seen, and not just wait for the auditions to come and go down the linear path, which is there and it's always amazing and we want to go for that. But there's a whole other creative outlet that we have available to us. And I think I found it imperative anyway. And if anything, it's made me a better actor. I don't know how you feel about doing your own stuff, but I know it's definitely opened up my
Stuff
side of things.
I haven't done enough of it. I did a short film actually. The last thing I did with someone that was my own thing. It won a few film festivals. Action On Film Festival at one, in Philadelphia. And it was a lot of years ago now. And the director of that's just had his first feature in the cinema. I went to the premiere of it in Leicester Square in London just before we did the casting for it on We Audition. But that was it's a long time coming from that short. And I wish I did more stuff. You can't do everything. And
No.
I'll do an analogy if you like them. I do think you have a pie and you chop it. I don't think you have an infinite number of pies. I think you have one and you need to chop it up. And at the moment I'm chopping up and giving a large portion to We Audition, which is great because we're all in here and we're in it together and and trying to make this work.
Which makes total sense. So let's before we kind of wrap up, what's if you had a crystal ball kind of thing, and I know that's a really tough question because it's been a big change in a few weeks anyway, but what's coming up for We Audition? Where would you guys as a team like to see it get to, and what's the ideal moving forward?
AI plans. There's some great stuff on the horizon. We should jump on and start tagging stuff up. Oh my gosh. So we've got, I don't know if I've even announced this yet. This is probably an exclusive.
A scoop.
A scoop. No, we've got big plans with AI casting. So, we're aiming to not be casting through submissions and that old system. We're trying to get things tagged up and systems suggesting people. If you're looking for it doesn't have to be a certain height, a certain eye color, a certain nationality, a certain race, a certain accent. That is the preconceived ideas of the casting director that's then reading that off the page, or the writer that's written that. If you need a cop, you can be anyone. You can be any race, you can be any size, you can be any disability, you can be any, sexual orientation, you can be any eye color. It doesn't matter. So those filters are out of date. All those other systems, they're wrong. They don't work. Really be working to. We've got this idea that we can streamline that system, and casting directors already use our system for the audition room. So we really, really want to be suggesting people from the community that are pro members and that are other members as well into those people, so they can read for those massive roles too, because massive shows cast through We Audition.
That's super fascinating to me because it's something I've never actually thought about until now. But then I go, that makes complete sense, to look at whatever content people have. I guess you'd look at things like their headshots or video reels or just anything that they've been putting in the community. And it's not an equalizer per se, but I guess it does, to your point, get rid of any preconceived notions and bring people to the forefront that might not, for no wrong or right reason, just might not perhaps get normally seen. And I guess streamline the process for casting too, right? Like to just bring them all these automated suggestions.
Casting's changed now. Casting's changed from being the person that goes out and finds, the one talented person. They're not really doing that so much now. What they're doing is they're wading through thousands of submissions, and the job is very, very hard, and it's a different job from what it used to be. And we're hearing this from casting directors and people using our platform. They're going out to agents, and they're starting to use agents as sort of a curation tool as well. So having a good agent is actually more important than ever. But I think there's a slot where we can bring that community together, and we can get people to be amazing, and those people that are we consider future A-list, or they're contributing to the community, potentially offering those in some of these top level jobs as well. It's that's the future of it. But yeah, the system now works beautifully for self-tapes, and it is a massive help for self-tapes. So we see that, and there's hundreds go through every day of people doing stuff on the system. So it works.
That's awesome. Super powerful. And I think a lot of potentially really exciting things coming. And it's got my brain going now, is like where the future of casting and auditioning and networking could go. And I think what's happening at the moment with the whole Casting Crushes Corona initiative is just a small thimble of a glimpse into what it could potentially be as we move down the years. And
just one thing that with auditions in general is always free on We Audition. We're not going to be these guys that want to rip everyone off for every headshot you upload. It's extra cash. It's free. Okay, I'm just saying that now.
No names mentioned of those other people or platforms.
And they're good. They do their own thing. They do them really well. They're great. But we always said auditions had to be free. So the community aspect and actors supporting us with a pro membership is a big deal for us because it makes a difference.
Well, like you said, people have to want to sort of be part of a business, any business. So if anything, you're going to get more in the long run by having people buy into the service you're offering and what you're providing and the value you're adding, than just charging them up the up front for an entry because it can make you short-term profits. And you've been going long enough anyway that the short term isn't even in the equation. So, from a branding perspective, if we go down the Gary V route, I suppose, like you mentioned him earlier, that's what you guys are doing, but not in a manipulative way, just organically. Like, you guys are good dudes, you're actors, you get it. And I think that tells, and that's important, and it's massive.
Push too hard as well. We don't want everyone taking money from everywhere. Like, this doesn't work. Like, we're not rich people. We get this, and I read something recently actually that in times like this, it's artists that people turn to, and it's community that people turn to, and you don't turn to the new pair of sneakers, really. You really turn to people that you love and people that you can connect with, and actually video chat does that really well. And we're in a time that actually it's very special. 100 years ago, millions of people would die from this around the world.
True. Yeah, the perspective that this is giving us is massive. You're right. I mean, yeah, the mental kind of side and the loneliness and feeling trapped that people are naturally feeling can totally be subsided by just connecting with others. And to get to do it with your line of work or passion or whatever acting is for someone who uses the platform, I think is more important now than ever because of what we're going through, and just to keep people happy and in good spirits and to have hope. That's what we're wired for as humans too. So it's amazing that this thing's taken off, but not a surprise.
I think it's amazing. Thanks for saying that. But it's been an amazing week, and we really appreciate. I want to say, before we wrap up, thanks for everyone who's been online. Thanks for everyone who's queued for those auditions and not been seen but chatted in the waiting room. There's been a great vibe in those waiting rooms. If it supports that many people, we really appreciate people jumping on board. We really appreciate being part of the community, and keep an eye out for this workout, because that's going to be a real game changer for people being online every day doing those workouts. It's going to be great.
Love that. Awesome. Well, listen, Richard, I guess, before we wrap up, maybe let people know where they can find you, where they can find We Audition, how they could connect with the platform if they haven't already, and anything sort of at the end that you want to, I don't want to say plug, but sort of give a shout out for with what you're doing here.
WeAudition.com is on all the socials. So WeAudition.com is the website, at We Audition on Instagram, on We Audition on Twitter, on Facebook too. We try and post as much stuff as we can. I am Rich Cambridge, if you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I don't do it so much. I should do it more. Someone said to me once that my Instagram was just cats and cars, and I looked at it and I was like, damn, you're right. So I had to sort that right out.
Add in more stuff. You need like a dog and a horse and a few other animals in there or something, man.
That's me personally, but We Audition is weaudition.com, where you should be going for self-tapes and general meetings this week.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a really insightful chat, and I knew the platform had a lot of amazing things to it. I'm even more excited now by some of the stuff you've spoken about and where it could be going. So, I definitely urge people to check it out, because I don't think this is a novelty act. I think this is here to stay, and I think it's a game changer. So let's get in there, people, and use it.
Thanks very much for having me. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. All right, man.